Being a BMW, straight away it has got some oil leaks. Holy moly. Welcome back to 0 to 60. You join me from just after we finished putting the front end onto this thing on Sunday. It's a couple days later, but before we take it to the panel shop, which I still haven't done, but it is on the schedule, it's got to happen. But before I take it there, I do want to change the oil, mostly because since I've had the car, I haven't done it, and I'd like to drop the oil. In a perfect world, I'd like to actually drop the entire sump and see if there is anything inside, but I haven't got a sump gasket. I've got to get to the panel beaters ASAP. So I'm at least going to change the oil, put some fresh oil and a fresh filter in there for its trip over there, and see if we find any nasties inside the oil. So to get started, as we do have the happ, I'm going to put it on that, lift it up in the air to drop the oil, and we'll see what's inside. Let's do it.
Perfect.
Okay, well this is actually the first time I've had it up on the happ. If you remember the earlier videos, it was sitting over there when we just moved into this shed, just on axle stands and ramps. So now I can actually have a good look underneath this thing. Being a BMW, straight away it has got some oil leaks, quite a lot of oil by the looks of it. But over here, I mean, I'm hoping that is just rocker covers, that won't be too bad to do. I actually had a look before the camera comes on. I've got to show you this. Look at that. That's those Super Sprint headers. You can see they go all the way up to the block. There you go. They look nice, they're massive. They literally come right down past the gearbox. And then I was trying to find the, because the AFR gauge isn't working properly in this thing, which I need to get sorted, the aftermarket one. And I saw all these O2 sensors here. I thought that would be them with these high flow cats, but it's not. It'll be this blue wire here. So not a job for today. We've got other priorities to get sorted, but I reckon that's going to be the problem area. It could just be a faulty or a dead O2 sensor, something like that. So if you guys are interested in seeing that get fixed, get that sorted out so we actually see what the AFRs are doing on this thing, let us know and we can make a video on that. And this is the other thing that caught my eye, so I can actually have a good look at it. Look at that beautiful piece of work. Big one-piece carbon fiber drive shaft. All the way back. In these E39 M5s, that is, the two-piece drive shafts are a real weak point. So by having that one-piece carbon fiber, you get rid of the weak point, and also it's a lot lighter as well, which makes a big difference. And then back here, God, it's so muddy just from driving around the block here. But it's got no rear mufflers, just a nice muffler delete. But there is a little bit of a kink there at the back end from the crash, so we'll have to get that sorted. But other than that, I was actually having a look under here, like a proper look under here for damage, not having to crawl under. And it's actually all pretty straight. It's not too bad under here at all. All the subframe, which I thought might have been bent, it doesn't look bent actually, when you look at it from here. So I mean, it does need a good clean, which will be fun, getting all the dirt and grime off. But it's not too bad. So we'll come back up the business end. Actually, I'll let it idle for a while as well, so she's got some heat into it. I'll drop the sump plug, drop the oil and see what's inside. Okay, it is just and in fact, it doesn't actually look, it doesn't look like the factory sump plug, but it's probably the factory size, which is just a 6mm Allen key. Holy moly. Oh, that doesn't feel good. That does.
It's starting to slip, heat it up.
That does not feel good. Yeah, I'm gonna put some heat into that. That doesn't feel good. Okay, fingers crossed. Oh, okay.
Battery.
That's got it. That's got it.
Amazing what difference heat makes.
Yeah. Oh, I was getting scared for a second then. Woo. Woo.
See how clean it looks. Not too bad.
It's not filthy, is it?
No.
It's definitely had an oil change in its 300,000 kilometers. Okay, now we're going to do the filter, which I just use a 36mm socket on a ratchet for that, which is the size of that top up there. You can use something to undo the whole lid, but it shouldn't be on too tight. You don't need to do it up too tightly because they're only plastic. So crank that round, and once you release that pressure, you should hear some more oil start falling out of the sump.
We just added in some sound effects for that.
Ooh. A bit shiny. Now, it's very easy to make a hella mess.
How do you know that?
Read it on the internet. Cool. Should be safe now. I like to try and let it run out before even trying to get it away from the oil filter housing, because they do hold so much oil in there. Boom. Wow, that is tight. Cool. That was on there. Doesn't look too bad.
No rod bearings in there?
No, it doesn't look like that. I mean, there's a little bit of dirt, but it's not... Whoa, actually, that one's pretty dirty. See that?
I think we ought to, we'll put that aside for tomorrow and we'll take it apart once all the liquid oil's drained out of it.
Yeah, have a good look, eh? Cool, so whilst that oil continues to drain, it's pretty much all there is to it. Make sure it's all run out, pop the sump plug back in, and then we put the new filter in and top her up. These 540 filters, and actually they're the same filters as the E39 540s that I've got, so I've got a filter ready to go. But they are a cartridge filter, like a lot of BMW engines. So you should get a little kit like this with a big O-ring and a copper washer. The big O-ring is to replace the O-ring on the oil filter housing cap. Whereas, yeah, a lot of other engines that have just a normal screw-on type filter, they'll already come with the O-ring already on, ready to go. So you haven't got to, it's just an extra little stage you've got to do. To do it is pretty simple. You just don't want to damage anything. So be really careful when you pull off the old O-ring. I use a very small screwdriver. Once you get it in, pull it off, and the new one then obviously also very carefully,
You're just wiping it with some oil so it slides over the
Yeah.
grab on anything?
yes, correct, yeah, I should have mentioned. Yeah, don't stretch it too hard, don't go too crazy throwing it on, just go careful. As you're putting it around the side, it'll start to tension. Make sure it doesn't come out, and you don't want it to get cut on any of the threads. So just pull it around, and it'll go in its home, nice and smooth. And again, I always wipe it with some fresh oil as well, because when you put that cap on, if it hasn't got oil, it will grab and twist, and it's only a little soft O-ring, so it can pull out of place. So make sure it is lubed up before you screw the cap on. Okay, while the camera was off, I did put the sump plug back into the sump, used the new copper washer, and didn't do it as tight as it was to pull it out. So hopefully next time it isn't such an issue to get out. Now time to put the new filter in, which is pretty easy. Some people clip it into the lid and then drop it on, but I like to just make sure everything is seated properly. So I drop it in like that, and you can feel if it grabs or bites on anything. And then when you're putting the lid on, it's all lined up. Nothing can sort of fall out of place. But again, don't need to do it with a ratchet, you don't need to swing off it. Just do it up until it gets tight. Now, it is always a good idea to support it with your left hand when you're doing it up, because they are just on rubber mounts, and if you're not careful, you can actually break the rubber mounts, which, just like this car, the top mounts have actually been broken. So that's another job to fix, but yeah, again, you don't need to put too much force on it. That's gone on nice and easy that time. And she's all locked in. So that's on, sump plug's on. Now we'll fill her up. Cool. Now, if you remember when I first got the car, I asked a question of which oil to buy, because lots of oil companies were recommending different weights of oil and different types of oil. I've always used Penrite in pretty much most of my cars. It's always been quite good, and they recommend this 10 tenths or the premium 10 tenths 10W60, and it came up on sale when I first got the car. So I went and grabbed some while it was on sale. But yeah, in the comments everyone was saying to run the Castrol TWS, which now I think has been changed to Castrol Supercharged 10W60 or something. But I have got to do the bearings in this car, so I'll use this now and then replace it with the Castrol stuff after the bearings. And believe it or not, the S62 uses less oil than the M62. The M62 is 7.5 or 7.6 litres, whereas the S62 is only 6.5. But this car having the oil cooler, that big oil cooler, I reckon it's going to be closer to 7 or 7.5 anyway. Not too bad, so that's a full 5 litre in. And then I'll put about 1.5 litres from the next bottle and then check it. Now for a final check, pop that back on. I'll start the engine up and one, make sure it's all good, but obviously that will still be empty at the moment. So we'll fill that back up and then check the level and make sure it is still at least at full or within its range. So, lock your ears. That's good. All the oil pressure lights have gone off. Oh, it sounds healthy. It sounds amazing. Fresh oil. It's nice. Boom, that is just below the full line, which I think is pretty good. I'll just keep an eye on it after the first drive. That should do the job. So now, one step closer to the panel shop. It's just nice having knowing that there's fresh oil in there for, well, yeah, for however long it's going to be away, and yeah, nothing wrong with changing the oil. Well, that's it, job done. Hopefully you found that useful if you've got to do this on your beast. I do have a question though. When I first got the car, obviously having such high kilometers with a supercharger as well, I'd heard through people that knew the previous owner that it had been supercharged for about 60,000 kilometers. So I ordered an oil analysis kit nearly straight away, so I've got that. But when I actually, if you saw the video, when we went down and actually met the previous owner and got the original parts off of him, it turns out that it was only supercharged around 280,000 kilometers. So not quite as much life with the supercharger as I previously thought. And talking to him, he did do an oil analysis check as well, and there was no traces of bearing material in the oil that he got checked. So it was a little bit of a relief to hear, but I want to know what you guys think, because I know there are a few M5 owners around, and I was talking to Matt recently as well, another M5 owner in Australia, and he doesn't think the bearings are such an issue as what I first thought. So should I just send that all away now to get it checked, and then wait to see what they say about doing the bearings, and just maybe put some kilometers on this engine how it is, do some track days and stuff that are coming up in the near future? Or should I not worry about it and just do the goddamn bearings ASAP? Because it does have over 300,000 kilometers on this engine, and yeah, about 30,000 of those have been done, or just over 20,000 of those have been done with the supercharger as well. So yeah, if you've got any insight into what I should do there, please let me know. But thank you very much for watching, and I'll read all the comments below, and we'll see you in the next one. Team S62.